You ready? Nope.
Did I do it right?
It's not working. Do you have the panel on your screen?
Yes, sir. I did everything you said. And it says it's recorded.
Well, technical difficulty.
What did I do wrong?
I don't know. There we go. It's working now. All right. So, how many of you have heard of quantum mechanics? What about quantum physics?
Yes.
You've heard.
Physics,
Brother Dan.
So, the way I like to talk about quantum physics when it comes to us is every idea we can think good or evil with that idea. But how our brain processes that, right? We have a choice. Pick blue or red. And we're going to pick red. So what that means is once we've chosen red, we can never choose blue, right? This is the way quantum physics works when it comes to our brain. Once we make a choice, we can't unchoose that, right? We can try and hope, but you can't change what you've chosen, right? You've now made it part of you. So the way to overcome that is you get new information so that you can make a new, better choice. So in the case of this, we're going to add 2 new colors, green and yellow, and now we're going to pick blue. And so now, if we see those 4 colors, we'll always pick blue. So our brain is designed, right, just to help us through day-to-day tasks. We train ourselves to do something, and it remembers it. And then we don't have to think about it anymore. And so that choice just gets made over and over and over. So we make a bad choice, our subconscious will keep making that bad choice for us because that's the way we went when we first were presented with the option to make that choice.
So you trained it.
Right. You immediately, once you make a choice that you've never made before, your subconscious will continue to make that choice. And so you have to include that, right? You have to get new information so that you can overcome, right? So when we get saved, we change our thinking by reading the Bible, right? Romans 12, 1 and 2 says, you're transformed by renewing your mind with the Word of God. So when it comes to our finances, it's the same thing. We've trained right? We've grown up. Somebody's taught us all these bad habits. Now we have to train ourselves to think right about money where we were taught to think incorrectly. And so these are, right, this is what they've discovered when they're messing around with all this quantum mechanics and quantum physics stuff. But this, and we'll look at that a little bit more in detail probably next week or week after. So what are these numbers? How can I make all those numbers equal? What one equation makes them all equal? All right, it's 9 plus 1. And it all comes down to your base conversion. So if I'm using hex, which is 16 numbers, right before you get to 10, 9 plus 1 is A. And then in our normal, the math that we teach at school is 10 base, so 9 plus 1 is 10. There's also a number system that only has 8 numbers in it. And so 9 would be number 11, and so 11 plus 1 would be 12. But it's equivalent to 9 in our understanding.
I remember I struggled with that through school.
And so then in binary, which is what computers use, 9 plus 1 is 1010. So what's that got to do with us? Right? If you apply the right rules to your thinking, you're going to get the right results. And if, right, your perception of things doesn't have to become your reality, right? You're living, right? We've been told this is your reality, but it doesn't have to be. And so we need to understand that what we're being taught, we can change that, right? We can say, no, this is what I want, and train ourselves to get those things by teaching ourselves to think a different way. And so the first 2 weeks we were talking about the basics, what's money, right? It's a tool, and just getting an understanding, talking about some simple things that we should do. Be a giver, right? Put ourselves first instead of all of our bills, right? Let's pay ourselves first and then pay the bills after. So the defense of money is important, but if you focus on defense over offense, you're going to tell your brain that it's in a scarcity mindset instead of a abundance mindset. So you need to have a healthy thought on both offense and defense. If it's all defense, then you're telling your brain, don't squander that money. But you won't, right? To grow wealth takes an offensive strategy, not a defensive one. So if you want your money to grow,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
Did you say pay yourself first and not your bills first?
yes,
You might have to explain that to me later.
okay. So the 3 keys to wealth are delayed gratification, learning to say no, right? Instead of instant gratification, which is the world we live in right now. If you can't get it in 5 seconds, right, you have people that are upset now. Long-term vision, right? Let's set a goal. 20 years, this is where I want to be. 5 years, this is where I want to be. And your brain will work with you to get those results. If you don't set any goals, your brain's just going to do what you've programmed it to do.
I think that was my issue before I married Sylvia. I didn't really, I had a long-term vision, but nothing to help me stay on course.
Right. And then the last one is utilize the power of compounding. We've taught ourselves to live with, compound interest on the debt side instead of using it for our offense side. So we know how to get into debt and take, our future money and pay today for things that by the time we pay it off, we don't even want them anymore. But if we learn to take that money and invest it and let it start compounding, then we start setting ourselves up to have this extra money. Right? The importance of investing in yourself. Warren Buffett recommends get out of debt, stay out of debt. That's obviously a good place to be. And then he said, invest in yourself. So, principle number 9 is financially fit people are avid readers and consistently invest in themselves by increasing their financial and leadership education, skills, experience, knowledge, and abilities. So, financially fit people are always learning something new. Right? Invest in you is the best investment you will ever make. Right? Nobody can take away what you've taught yourself, right, when it comes to your thinking. But your job, they can take that away tomorrow. Right? The first step in the attitude of abundance is to always remember that your most important investment is an investment in yourself. Right? Whatever you do, don't cut back on brain investment. Always, right? I'm always learning something new, right? The first week that we did this class, I ordered 2 new books that I'll probably read when we get done with this class. But they were very exciting. I made, last week I read some quotes from the book. So just thumbing through it, I was like, wow, I got to show this information. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in the world, reads 8 hours a day. Right?
I don't think your mic, he doesn't do anything else.
What do you mean?
I don't hear your mic on.
I just have it going to the recording, not
Oh.
out here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've turned it down in here. They don't need to hear me
Right.
yelling at them.
I wish there were more people.
Yeah, but I'm glad he's recording it. Yeah, the first week was really,
This is just really good information that so many people are missing.
yeah.
So Warren Buffett, he said he reads 500 pages. Right, he has a stack of. Right, when he said this, he had a stack of papers on his desk. He said, "I read 500 pages like this every day." He's the richest man in the world on some days.
We need to take a speed reading class.
Right, Charlie Munger. This is Warren Buffett's partner. He said the best thing a human being can do is help another, no more.
What's his name?
Charlie Munger, he's the co-founder of whatever business they run, some investment company. And then he said, go to bed smarter than when you woke up. Right, that should be our daily goal. Learn something new. So when I wake up tomorrow, I can use that new information. Principle 10. Financially fit people excel at work and projects they are doing now. And at the same time, they invest in themselves in order to achieve their long-term vision. Right? So if your goal is to do something that has nothing to do with your job, you want to spend time learning that and becoming professional in whatever your long-term goal is while you're doing your job. So as you master tasks and surpass expectations, you'll undoubtedly be given more responsibilities and because you are focused on your long-term vision, the additional duties will inevitably lead you in the direction of your dreams. Have you ever got a promotion at work? What went into that, right? You had to prepare yourself and gain some knowledge so that your supervisor or your manager knew you were skilled enough to take that next step, right? So you got to gain that knowledge. All the principles that we've talked to so far about how our thinking and habits affect us, right? They teach us to be a winner. Investing in yourself allows you to have victory over internal struggles. You no longer want to settle for pretty good, only greatness will do. Right? We want to go from being a baby Christian to a mature Christian. So with our finances, we want to go from not knowing anything to becoming financially fit. And then for this principle, do y'all know, have you ever talked about personalities? Right? A task-oriented person. Huh?
Dr. Dan did that for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, he did. It's a different one that he did than there's 4 basic ones. You can be people-oriented or task-oriented, introvert, extrovert. So if you're a task-oriented over people-oriented, it's easier to understand this principle. Task. Yeah. She's people. It's principle number 11. Never sacrifice principles for money or possessions. Be honest, keep your integrity, keep your priorities in the right order. Right? Your prosperity, wealth, and privileges are not ultimately for your pleasure, but they should be for your purpose. Right? Whatever God has designed you to do, if you're focusing on that, you want to maintain your integrity. Perception is not reality. Reality is reality. That being said, most people allow their perception to be their reality.
Is that a good thing? That's part of what's wrong with this world now.
Right. Well, most people believe what's happening is just happening. There's nothing I can do. Right. But the reality is you can change. Right. But that perception, people, they're locked into believing that perception, and it's hard for them to change. Right. The ability to create a new future it eludes them. Right. They struggle with changing. Right. You see this generation after generation. These curses just keep flowing because nobody's telling them how to break them. Right. So the cycle just keeps happening. Right. If you understand your purpose, this principle is easy to understand. Right. But I mean, we don't want to break our integrity for any type of financial gain. Do the work to gain mastery in what you do. It usually takes about 10,000 hours. And so we're going to talk about this on a couple other slides. It's not doing 1 hour over and over for 10,000, but taking each hour and making yourself better for 10,000 hours. What does 10,000 hours look like for you? Right? You aren't. Huh? Yeah.
Maybe the rest of my life.
but it only takes somebody 5 years of working on it to become a millionaire. And so that is what we're going to see. 10,000 hours takes the average person 5.5 years. Right. Success is not as easy as winners make it look, but it's not as hard as losers make it seem. Right? Winners make it look easy because they've spent 10,000 hours creating habits that make them the winners they are. Right? Every sport has drills they teach their players so when they're in the game, the unnatural feels natural to them. And so the Dallas Cowboys, when they dive for the football, so in practice, they have somebody get down on their hands and knees, and the receiver lays across them, and somebody holds his feet so that he lays there, just laying there, and has to catch balls over and over and over while he's on that guy's back. So when they're in a game and they go to dive for the football, it feels right for them to do that, right? It's natural for them to do that. And then in boxing, they have to learn how to take a step back, right? When you're standing and you want to take a step back, you take your front foot and move it back, right? And you just walk backwards. When you're boxing, you take whatever foot's in the back and you move it back, and then you move the one that's in the front. So it's completely opposite when you're in that boxing ring, how you want to move, right? So they have to learn that new way to move in that ring. But every sport, right? My brother tells me about his basketball drills that he did. And he said there were moments when like time stood still, right? He had trained and he knew exactly what to do. And so he said it just looked like everybody stopped moving and I just went up and made a basket. He knew if I do this, I'm going to make a basket. And it's just, he said it's like slow motion, right? That subconscious kicks in and all that training just it just puts the ball in the basket. So that's what the 10,000 hours gets us. So when it comes to being financially fit, we spend a lot of time reading, and then when opportunities come, like I told them, you weren't here last week, I spent 2018, 2019 reading stuff about the stock market, and then the opportunity came across, and I made $60,000 in a month. And I had set a goal, and I thought I was going to make that money a different way, but I have on my dream wall at my house, I have a check that I wrote out for $50,000 for December 25th of this year. So my goal was to make $50,000 in a month, and I did it in a way that I wasn't even expecting. But I trained myself to where when that opportunity showed up, I was able to act on it. And it was funny. She was like, I don't believe you. Because I'd be saying, I made $5,000 today. And so that 10,000 hours, they studied, I don't know how many, I'm pretty sure this has to do with sports, but in 2007 they did a study, and it took an average of 11,053 hours, and then it says plus or minus 5,000 hours. But the quickest somebody gained mastery was in 3,000 hours, and then 23,000 hours was the longest. And then they had some that they just decided after 25,000 hours, you're not going to make it. Right, so there were some people that were unable to gain mastery in whatever they were testing. But there's actual statistics, huh?
You have aptitude. Some people have
Yeah.
aptitudes for it so they can get there quicker.
Yeah, I'm never going to gain mastery in basketball, but my brother did. So there's 3 essential values for financial offense. So number 1 is maintain your autonomy, freedom to choose your way, both personally and in a society, right? We want to hold these freedoms for ourselves, not give them away. And so we can lose our autonomy by getting into debt, and debt is doing everything but thinking. That's the best way to remember that word. Allowing our government to take away freedoms from its citizens, right? We're seeing that happen more and more in our own country, right? We're giving them away because we want, free stuff, basically. They say, we'll give you free stuff, but we're gonna tax you more. And we just give up those freedoms. Ignoring the principles of financial success, right? So if we don't learn to be financially fit, it's going to it's going to take away our freedoms from us. And then we lose, right, by ignoring financial success, failing to pay yourself first, failing to be generous, be a giver, and failing to save money over time. How long could you live if you had no income, right? Every 4 years that you work, you should be able to walk away from that job for a year, right? The financially fit person is setting themselves that way. I wish I'd have known this when I was in my 20s. Is your income active or passive? And we're going to talk a lot about that. We want passive income because passive equals freedom, right? You're no longer having to give your time because you got money working for you. Number 2, stick to your purpose, right? Clearly know your dreams and set goals to get your dreams. Avoid distractions. You must keep your eye on the dream. See them over distractions. Allow mentors to help you. Have you all ever heard of the Jhari Window? So we're going to look at that tonight. So with every person you meet, you create this Jhari window, and it moves through stages. Make sure you're doing what matters. Selflessness, not selfishness. Right? Jesus said, learn this one thing. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Right? And basically he's saying, stop being selfish and be selfless. Be a giver. And so when we're doing stuff as a giver, instead of thinking about it, our reward comes from God. If we're thinking about it, Jesus said that's your reward. Right? So we want to train our spirit to just be a generous person so that we don't even know we're doing it, but we're becoming this generous person, and God can come behind that and bless you. And you don't know what's happening till you reflect on it years later. You're like, oh my gosh, look at how God had His hand in our life. But it comes from that learning not to sacrifice, but be selfless. And then achieve mastery. Right? It's not about getting out of debt, it's about staying out of debt. Become excellent at what you do and become the master of your money. Money is a tool you use to build your dreams. And so there's these stages. You go from ignorance to immersion to mastery. Mastery takes 10,000 hours. Don't give up in the middle. And so 10,000 hours to master your craft. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 44 weeks a year. 10,000 hours takes 5.5 years. But the people who want to become a millionaire are putting that time in or become financially fit. And so then developing a talent, the 10,000 hours rules, right? You hear, we're talking about this, getting you excited. You start down that 10,000 hours. After about 2, you realize this is going to take a long time. All right, that delusion kicks in. And then you get to about halfway and you start seeing, this is starting to work out. I just got to put in my time. But right there in the first 25% range, people, that's where they quit, right? I'm going to start going to the gym. They go for a couple weeks and then they quit because they realize, right, their body's in pain because they haven't been exercising. So all those muscles like, oh my gosh, what are you doing to me? And they either decide I'm going to work through it or they quit. And most of the people just quit because the pain ain't worth it. Dreams. Here I am. I create this little dream, right? If we have an obstacle show up and I can't see my dream, I will quit, right? I have to be able to see my dream over the obstacle. So I need to make my dream bigger than the obstacle. So we need to have big dreams so that when these obstacles come along, we can still see over the obstacle. And if the obstacle is too big to see over, we find a way through it. You are gonna hit walls when you're trying to achieve your dreams. And you have to remind yourself that these dreams are important to me, or these obstacles will force you to give up your dreams. And then the Jhari window. So when you meet somebody new, right, you know a lot of information about yourself, and there's some things you don't know, right? We all have these blind spots. So there's stuff about ourselves that we don't know. And I can choose, I'm going to share this information with somebody else or I'm not going to, right? So you have these 4 windows, right? The unknown is you don't know it yourself, and the person you're talking to doesn't know it because you can't share it with them. And then you have the hidden, right? Am I going to share this information with them or not, right? I can choose what I'm going to say to you about myself, right? How much of my secrets am I going to share with you? And then the blind is our blind spots, and then the open would be you and I know the same thing about me. So when we meet somebody, it's called the turtle. And all of your information is in the unknown, right? They don't know anything about you, and you don't know what you don't know about yourself. And so when you start talking to somebody, it becomes an interview, and you start sharing bits and pieces of information about you. And then they start to see what you don't see about yourself, right? And if they tell you in love, they can point you in a direction to help you, right? If a mentor's talking to you He's going to find out what your blind spots are and work to get rid of those. And so it's called a bull in a china shop, because you're just running around destroying stuff and you don't know, why is this happening to me? Every time this situation comes up, it keeps turning out bad. And it's because we can't see what other people can see about us. And then the ideal Jhari window is everything's in the gray, right? Everybody is sharing information. There's trust built. So in a marriage, this is where it should be, right? The two people, husband and wife, have no secrets. And they're working on fixing blind spots. But this is the Jhari window. So with each one of you, I have a Jhari window, and I can work on making it ideal. The 4 stages of learning. So level 1 is called unconscious incompetent. So when I first, as a child, learned to tie my shoes, I didn't know how to do it, and I had to have help. Right? And I didn't know that I didn't know how to tie shoes till my mom put the shoes on and started teaching me. So there's 3 type of people that you're going to run into here, right? Somebody who doesn't know that there's something I could do, right? So it's blissful ignorance. I don't know anything about this skill. And then you have the know-it-all, right? Or you have somebody who's never heard of skill. And then you have the know-it-all, right? And they say, I know all there is to know about this. There's nothing you can teach me. Never say that, right? There's always something you can learn. But this is level 1. I've discovered a new skill, and I want to, educate myself. And so I'm aware of the skill, and I'm going to start working on learning this skill. So then we have awareness, so now we're at level 2. At level 2, we're now conscious, right? We know there's a skill, but I'm not good at it, right? I'm still unskillful, incompetent, right? I know I can't do it, right? I'm aware of the skill and that I need to learn it, right? I want to learn this skill, and I know now that I can't do it. So what do? We start training. I'm going to start learning this skill, and I'm going to get a coach to teach me how to do something, a mentor, right? So now that puts us at level 3, right? I know the skill, and I'm becoming competent, right? Conscience, competence. I can do it if I pay attention, right? If I put my thought into it, I can do it. I've performed this skill many times without somebody helping me. And so now I'm going to practice it over and over and over to become a professional. And as a professional, right, level 4, I've now forgot about, right? I don't have to think about it anymore because it's a skill that I've developed, right? So I know how to do it, but I don't have to think about doing it, right? It's in my spirit. It's in my subconscious. So I can easily and effortlessly do this task, right? This is where we want to be with our finances. I performed the skill so many times that I've forgotten what it took to get to here, right? Natural reactions, right? You're doing that task without even thinking about it. Somebody throws a ball at a baseball player, he just, instinctively throws his hand up to catch it. And then there's a level 5, right? This is where your coaches, mentors are. And it's called conscious, unconscious competence. So they now know how to teach you to be unconscious about that skill. Right? They've gained life mastery over that skill. I'm able to teach mastery of a skill to others. So only coaches and mentors reach level 5. Principle 13. Got to catch my breath. Financially fit people don't ask, can we afford it? As much as they ask, do we really want this? Will it help our purpose and dream? How will it help our purpose and dream? In what ways might it be a distraction? Will it cost more money to take care of it or keep it throughout, things like insurance or reoccurring fees? Would saving or investing the same amount of money be a bigger help than for our purpose and vision? Is now the best time for this purchase? Or would it be less expensive or just better for our family or business at a later date? They cultivate a habit of saving or saying no to purchases even when they can easily afford them, and of putting so much of their money into savings or investments instead, right? It's about delaying that gratification. And is this really going to push my purpose forward? Right thinking about money is the key to gaining wealth, right? So we just need to think, is this a good choice or a bad choice for me going forward? Right? We buy a new car and then we have to, spend money on insurance, spend money on repairs for that car. Is that a good investment for me at this time? So what's that look like? So when we're spending, right, we're going out to buy something. I see something I want. I ask, can I afford it? If not, decide whether to use debt or to buy it or save up for it and buy it later. If they can afford it, decide to buy it instead of setting a goal, right? We should set a goal and let that goal buy it for us, right? If I want to buy a new car, set a goal to, that's going to give me money that I can use to buy the car, right? So when I accomplish that goal, I get the car. So set a goal, right, that's going to move you farther down the road for your purpose, and then when you achieve that goal, you buy whatever your goal was. So instead of spending it, we can invest that money. Right? You see something you want, you ask if saving or investing the money instead of buying this thing, would it help our long-term goal more than owning this item? Is buying something or investing money and saving it, which of these is going to be better for my goals, my long-term? If the answer is yes, then they'll say no to the purchase, even though they can afford it or even easily afford it, right? We could buy this with petty cash, right? But if you took that money and right, every dollar we invest today gives us $5 in the future, right? Every dollar we spend, we lose $5 from our future. So is it worth it? If the answer to that, I didn't write that right, that the thing would help their long-term goals better than buying it, they'll sleep on it, right? Is there a better deal to be made? Can I invest something, right? Can I invest something better, right? So instead of going shopping and buying it that day on large purchases, they're going to go and rest, right? Give it 24 hours and see how they still feel, right? This is why we have buyer's remorse, because people's emotions trigger and they buy something and then they get home and they're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done this. What was I thinking? They let their emotions in the moment get them. Financially fit people have trained themselves, wait 24 hours, right? If it's over this amount of money, I'm sleeping on it for 24 hours. I'm not going to make a purchase. There's a financial limit that they've set. And if it's over that, they don't buy it without 24 hours of waiting. Financially fit people analyze their habits in life as well as finances, and they work at breaking bad habits and cultivating good ones. They think about and choose the habits they want and need to achieve their life dreams. Dr. Laura Leaf, have any of you heard of her? She talks about taking bad habits and in 21 days replacing it with a good one. It's called Switch on Your Brain is the book that she goes into that. She's a Christian neuroplasticity doctor. But she understands that our brains are designed to change, right? So we can go in there and change things about them. Reject the habits that don't serve you well and cultivate habits that are in keeping with your purpose and will bring you what you really want. Right? What we really want is that freedom of time where I don't have to work to pay my bills. If you're not sure, the answer is no. If we're sure, let's wait and see. All right? Wait 24 hours. There's waste in haste. Financial choices multiply into habits, and habits determine destiny because they run on autopilot in everyday life. They create tremendous momentum, right? So that's taking our bad habits and replace them with good habits so that just in day-to-day living, our good habits are moving us in the right direction instead of our bad habits taking us away from it. The best habit to learn is to say no. Right? The number one influence on whether a couple becomes millionaires is the spending habits of the wife. That's some statistic that is out there. Own a business, even if you start out working on it part-time, you can apply all the other principles in this book and obtain wealth over time. But those who apply them in their own business can become wealthy much more quickly, right? This is the whole concept of the multi-level marketing industry, right? That you're working on a business on the side and using it to gain wealth. And right, it goes back to right, Assemblies of God has had a statistic out since the 70s is the first time I saw it. Only 10% of people who say they're Christians read the Bible. Right? 10% of the church worldwide reads the Bible. So 90% are not gaining mastery in just becoming a good Christian because they're not reading information. They're getting their information from people that are flawed in what they're teaching about in most cases. So it's the same thing here. We want to be creating habits so that over time we get down the road where we want. And so in life, there's 4 ways to make money, right? Active income or passive income. And then in active, you can go to work at a job or you can start your own business. And then passive would be, getting into a business system, like buying a McDonald's or Popeyes or something, or getting into a multi-level marketing business, right? Those are the 2 business systems you can do. So if you have the money, right, it's a great thing to buy a McDonald's. Those things make like $1 million a year for you. But it costs like $5 million to buy one, right? So you got to come up with that money to start making money. And then you can invest money. So have you ever heard of the ESBI model at all? I think Robert Kiyosaki is the one that started it. I don't know, but that's the first place I heard it. But it looks like this. So as an employee, 100% of your effort, right? You have a job, your time equals money. And then as a self-employed, right, you own a job, time makes you more money because you can control how much money you make. And then as a business, right, 1% efforts of 100 people, right, the people working for you make you money, right? You get a percentage of what everybody's doing. And then when you're investing money, right, your money is, you've put your money to work for you. Increase your passive income to the point that 1, most of your income is passive, and 2, you can live off of your passive income, right? This should be your long-term goal should be, I want my money to work for me, not me, right? Like you said, you're about to retire, right? You're going to live off of that passive income. Freedom is achieved when you can live off of that passive income. How many months can you live if you have no active income? If you don't go to that job, how long can you go before you run out of money? One of the key principles of financial fitness is to increase your passive income, even if you continue to work your primary active income, right? So I'm going to be doing this task where I'm actively making money, but I'm going to also learn how to create passive income. right? Learn how taxes work and use that knowledge to your advantage, right? When they say we're going to tax the rich, that rich is employee and self-employed, right? It's not the people who own a business or are investing, right? Their taxes are cut in half just by being on that side of the bracket in the passive income. All right, so here's a bigger picture of it, right? So if you have a job, 100% times you is your income. And you're trading time for money, starting over every day at zero. And on the right side, if you're a business owner or investor, right, you're leveraging people and you're putting your money to work as an investment and you're drawing money off of those. So if you want to make $1 million in a year, your hourly wage has to be $500 an hour. At 40 hours a week, you'll make $1 million. To do the same thing as a self-employed, you need 10 employees that are billing $50 an hour. If you own a business, 500 people is the tipping point for you to become financially free in that business. So if you're in a multi-level marketing business and you get 500 people sign up under you, that multi-level marketing business would start paying you an income that you could live off of. Now the question is, do I want to spend all that time building 500 relationships with people? And most of them, when you get into that type of environment, right, their whole thing is to teach you people relationships. And then it's just a matter of, do I want to do that or not? And then to be a good investor, losing $250,000 in a day and you still say that's a good day, then you know you're an investor, right? If you can lose $250,000 in a day, you're an investor. Now, if you own a job or if you work at a job, the tax rate is 10% to 40%. And then if you own your own job, the tax rate goes up to 60%. If you run a business, the most they can tax you is, well, it's 0 to 20%. So you can find tax things that give you credits to credit you down to 0 taxes. Whereas you're gonna pay 10% if you work a job. And then it's the same for investing, right? So being on that side, tax-wise, is a better place to be, right? And so when the government says they're going to raise taxes, they're only going to raise taxes for the left side, right? If you go to work or you own a business, they're raising your taxes. They're not raising the taxes on the real rich, because the real rich aren't doing that, right? So that you think they're raising the taxes on the wealthiest people. They're not, right? The wealthy people are investing their money. And like we talked about last week, Buc-ee's, right? They're not in Corinth because they couldn't get the tax breaks that they wanted, so they went to Denton, right? They were going to be, I think where that new car dealership is, like right down the road from Bill Utter Ford. They were looking at that property, and Corinth said, No, we're not going to give it to you tax free. That's what they were asking for. All right, so the wealthy find ways to get zero taxes and they have the money to bully themselves into those places, right? And they just shop around. They'll find the place that's going to get them what they want, right? But you have to have that money, that initial money, to get that ball rolling. And so the idea is you work a job and you start building that capital so that you can start making those investments when they show up. And I don't know if you can see this. It's 20 years. If you take $1 and you double it each year, right? Year 2, I'd have $2. Year 3, I'd have 4, 8, 16. In 20 years, $1 would double to $1 million. And the next column is a 10% tax, right? If I tax that every year 10%, it drops to $375,000. You lose 60% of that $1 million in 20 years with a 10%, right? That's the minimum the government's going to let you go with if you're working. And then, right, not even the max 35% tax drops it to what, $22,000. From $1 million to $22,000 with a 35% tax. And you know, back when Reagan was president, you know what the tax rate was for the wealthiest 1%ers? 91%. And he got in office and cut it. And the economy took off, went crazy when he did that. And we'll talk about why that happens, because lower taxes stimulate certain things. But I went through and made the best, right? There's other ways you could tax these things, and they would give you worse results. These are the best tax. You know, the way I did the taxes was the best way that gave me the most value. And at 35%, you lose almost everything. It's crazy. So learn how to take advantage of taxes or pay somebody to do it for you. So have you heard of the rule of 72?
Heard of it, but I don't remember what it was.
Basically, you take two numbers, and if I'm getting 3%, let's see what I got here. Number of years, and then the percentage. So we're going to look at 6%, 3%, and 12%. So year 0, I have $10,000. Right, so I take 6 and multiply it by those 3 percentages. So 6 years, my 12% will double, right? 6 times 12 is 72. So you can do quick math. If I'm getting this amount of interest, how many years will it take me to double my money? So the more interest you get, the less amount of years. So 12 years, right, just the opposite, 6% will double. But my 12% will double again because it's every 6 years. And then I have to go 18 years. My 12% doubled again. 24 years, right? 3 times 24 is 72. So with 3% interest, it takes 24 years to double that money. And my 6% will double again. But my 12% is doubling every 6 years. And so then we can go out to 48. My 3% doubled again, so my 10,000 went to 40,000 in 48 years. 160,000 at 6%, and I'm at 2.5 million on my 12%. All right, so just a quick way to know how much money am I going to make in this amount of interest. I take 72, divide by the interest, and you'll get the years that it will take you to double it. So it's just a good, quick rule of thumb on how long is it going to take me to double my money. And it's called the Rule of 72, so any financial institution is going to understand that. Principle 17. Retirement should not be an issue of age, but rather a function of having enough passive income to live on for my life. Retirement means retiring from things that are not part of your purpose, so you can focus on the productivity and work on your life's mission, right? Jesus retired at the age of 30, and he started his mission then of teaching people who he was and who God was. And he spent 3 years doing his mission, right? He didn't have to spend that 3 years, right? He could have went to the cross at the age of 30, right? He was ready at that point to go to the cross. He wanted 3 years to teach people, to change their thinking. Right? This is true retirement when you're living off that passive income. So kids at the age of 20 or 25 will retire because they've become millionaires on some little gadget they invented or something. When you have enough passive income to live on for your life, you can retire and focus on your bigger purpose. This takes retirement planning to a whole new level, right? I'm not retiring from life. I'm retiring from my job so that I can do what God's called me to do. Too many people define retirement incorrectly. You want to save and invest in order to retire from things that aren't part of your purpose, not productive work. Stop chasing money and chase your purpose. Give me those dreams. How many days could you live your current lifestyle if you stopped working? This is the answer to how financially fit you are. Mind your own business. The path to your dreams is through building your own business, entrepreneurship, or taking a true ownership perspective in your job, entrepreneurship. The sooner you get enthusiastic, fired up, and truly build your pipeline of success, the sooner you can live your dreams. Right? We want to go through those 4 goals, right, of living. We start off spending, and our expenses are 100% of our income. We drop it. Right, our second goal is 90%. Then we want to get to 70%, which is where Sylvia and I are. We live off of 70%, and we give 10%, save 10%, invest 10%. And then from there, your goal is to live off of 10%. So you take that 70% and just you're investing, so you're creating new wealth, and you drop it to where your expenses are only taking 10%. The 3 keys to wealth, we've already talked about this: long-term vision, delayed gratification, and the power of compounding. Little things repeated over time become big things. Time is the key, right? You start rolling up a snowball. It's real little, but over time you make it as big as you want. Just takes time. The first key to wealth is making everything work for your life purpose. It's okay to feel defeated at times. It's just not okay to stay that way. Even the most brilliant of us are often idiots when we leave our area of expertise. And we would nearly always be better off financially to remain within our area of expertise and use everything we had to increase our mastery and feed the golden goose. Right? Y'all don't want to go out and start investing if you've never done it before. You're going to lose money. Right? You get a mentor to teach you how to do something, and then you slowly start gaining mastery on it. Build momentum. Stephen Covey says begin with the end in mind, right? Start, this is where I want to be, and then work back from that. What do I got to do to get there? If I want $1 million in the bank, what do I got to do to put $1 million in the bank? But you have to know what you want as your end goal, and let your subconscious, help you find a path to that. It's like I wrote a goal to make $50,000 in a month, and it found a way that I had no idea was even possible. Do not fall into the trap of just wanting so much money as possible. Right? It's about gaining money to serve God. Right? God has a purpose for you, and He'll give you the money to do that purpose, but you got to figure out what your purpose is. Stay hungry and focused on learning. Build your business around your mastery. Find something you're good at and learn how to make money with it. Choose focus over diversity in your business and finances. And another really long one. To really attain financial success, focus on these things. Number one, truly excel in your current job and projects and simultaneously start a business. Put in the 10,000 hours or so needed to gain mastery over your business while you're excelling at your current job. Make a plan to become financially free by reaching a point where your passive income from your business is more than covers your family's needs. Once you're financially free, put your full-time focus on building your business to the point that it funds your life's purpose. Each of these requires a deep focus, one at a time. Once you have accomplished them, go to the next and give it the same level of focus. This is the best path to freedom. Right? If you get into a multi-level marketing business, it's passive income because you're spending time making it passive income. If you stop doing you, that income will vanish. So it's not a true passive income, as in buying a McDonald's, but it's sign up here for $30 and get in this business where McDonald's is going to take you a couple of million or so to get. But you want to have one of those type of businesses that's generating income over you doing the work, or have invested that money over time. I think you all are right there at the place where you're ready to retire.
We are retired.
Oh.
Retired 18 years.
Yeah, we just retired, what, 3 years?
But that is the last slide. So next week we'll finish up on the offense stuff, and we'll go into detail about owning a McDonald's and look at how these multi-level marketing, you can stop it, hit stop. We'll look at how a multi-level marketing business can turn into a full-time job for you versus your day-to-day job.
How many more are you having after that?
Hmm?
Is that the last one, or are you having more after that?
Well, with 2 weeks on offense to this week and next week, and then we'll do a week of defense and then the playing field. So there's
Now, the week that.
go back to the
he said
OBS.
thumb drive, he would download the book for me.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was gonna do that in the.
Let me stop the recording.
Well, I
Huh?
paused it. I paused it.
Well, just hit stop. You paused what? Get out of this.
Are you about wrapping it up?
We're done.